We're really delighted today to have some special guests, and we're going to do the same thing we've done over the years, which is talk to you about what has happened over the last year, talk about what is going on in spinal cord injury research and some of the things that are moving forward to the clinic. And just to introduce the people who you will not recognize, they have not been here before. Dr. Minoru Fujiki is up there. Dr. Fujiki is a neurosurgeon from Japan. And that's cool. But the really cool thing is that Dr. Fujiki, when he was in my lab in the 1990s, was the first person to actually do the key studies in mice or spinal cord injury experiments. He really brought spinal cord injury research into my lab, and this was back when I was at the University of Virginia. So thank you, Noah. And thank you for coming. And just to say, we're still working together, collaborating. It's a little bit of an interesting collaboration, but the last time Minoru was here, we were reviewing microscope slides. He flew in from Japan in the morning, spent the day analyzing the slides, and flew back to Japan that evening. I'm not going to do that. Wanted to mention Adam Ferguson. Adam, can you wave? Adam is from University of California, San Francisco, and is involved in spinal cord injury research up there. We actually are collaborating on a project that is a translational project developing a primate model. We all think that for some things the FDA is likely to require studies of primates. So Adam is one of the people who's involved in that. We're delighted to have him here. And just to say, this is a worldwide effort. We're going to be talking to you about things that are really going on all over the world, not just what's happening here at the Review Run Center. So, and then our very, very special guest, Dr. Jack Kessler. Dr. Kessler is from Northwestern University. He's chair of the Department of Neurology there. Also, very much involved in spinal cord injury research, has been a leader in some of the stem cell studies that have been going on, in addition to other studies involving axon growth in the injured spinal cord. Dr. Kessler is also a star in another way. I want to be on Netflix too. Some of you may have seen a wonderful special that was done a few years ago called Terra Incognita. As I said, Dr. Kessler is very much involved in spinal cord injury research. His daughter also suffered a spinal cord injury. The show, Terra Incognita, is a story of them. It's a personal story. And it really is a very fun thing to watch because it tells the tale of a scientist at work, showing Dr. Kessler in the lab and doing experiments. And the part I love was getting frustrated about the paper that wasn't accepted the first time around. It later was accepted. I was not one of the reviewers. I just want to say that in public right now. And we're delighted to have Dr. Kessler here. It's always nice to be able to bring people in from outside, and especially somebody who's both a medical doctor and a scientist. I actually wanted to introduce a couple of people now, and then we'll introduce other people later on. We obviously depend critically on support from the outside, and I'll tell you in a minute that actually I think we're going to be needing to depend even more on philanthropic support going forward. And as I say, I'll tell you why. But one of the people who really was amongst the first donors to our center is here today, that is Joe and Sylvia Cortez, and their daughter Cynthia. Joe and Sylvia, can you wave? Joe, stand up just for a second. So some of you may look at Joe and say, "Ooh, I know him. Where do I know him?" Joe's a boxing referee, has refereed many huge fights over the years. He stood one standing between the two others that are beating on each other's heads. Joe himself is a boxer. Joe was inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame and is actually, I think, the most famous fight referee that is around. And I love his business card. Fair but firm. So thanks for coming, Joe. Joe and Sylvia have done so many things over the years for us, and we're just really glad that you guys are here. We haven't seen you for a while, so thanks. Okay, that's all I'm going to introduce right now. I'll come back and introduce people later on. Welcome. So let me tell you a little bit about, I'm going to start, but I'm actually not going to start with my own research. Some of you know that over the past couple of years, we've been very much involved in a project in which we've been able to actually enable regeneration of the pathway that enables our ability to move. We've made great progress this year. You may remember that last year I told you that we needed to do 3 things, and this year we accomplished one of them, and that is to develop a way that we can actually do this in a way that doesn't involve genetically manipulated mice. We can do this in rats, and actually it's a way that you could, in principle, manipulate the pathway in people. There's a long way to go to get it there, but it's really been a major step. And let's see, Dr. Gail Landowski is over here. Gail has a place back in the lab here that she'll be talking about that later on. So if you want to hear more about that, please check her out. I think probably the main thing that many of you may be interested in, curious about, is what's going on with the Geron trial. And I did want to start by saying that something about that. Unfortunately, unfortunately Hans is not able to be here during this session. He had a trip that had been scheduled a very long time ago, and so he's very sorry not to be here. We do have people from his lab, though, who will be talking about what's going on, and yeah, he said to say that he really misses seeing all of you, so sorry about that. And so I'm his substitute as far as what's going on with the Geron trial. So as you all know, the Geron trial was discontinued in the sense that no further transplants will be done. Nevertheless, the trial will continue in the sense that the people who have received transplants, the 5 people, will be followed and tested. And so the trial is going to provide results, interpretable results, I think, and it's going to be very important at the end of the day. What happens with the Geron trial is, beyond that, what happens with the product is not clear. There are negotiations going on between companies who are perhaps interested in buying the intellectual property and moving it forward. No one knows what the outcome will be at this point. There are at least several companies involved and are making different proposals to Geron. I just have to say I don't know anything about those things. I sort of don't want to know. And in fact, if anybody did know, they can't talk about it, because even making any conversation at all about what's going on between companies and negotiation can have a huge impact on their stock, obviously, and so it's just not going to be discussed until it's done. So I can't tell you any more, but I just do think that it's important to note that that's where the situation is right now. And let me just take a minute and ask if there are any questions about that. Okay, good. You're probably all pretty well informed about it. That's great. The other trial, based on work from our center, is going forward. That's work that Eileen Anderson and Brian Cummings did several years ago, and she'll tell you more about that a little bit. Okay. And also the work, of course, that is going on in her lab right now. My time is up. As I said, I don't have the time to actually talk about the research that we've been doing and kind of where we are, but again, I'll be happy to talk to anybody and answer any questions later on in the afternoon. Definitely go talk to Dr. Landowski down that hall there. So I think that at this point I'm going to pass the mic. And